Last season, we learned that Kim wanted to get a divorce. We also saw one of Olivia's worst moments when she unfortunately became so anxious of being around Kim, she hurt Ethan by making a day about his deceased brother all about her. This moment also set off Micah and Mariah. They were so tired of the fighting and having to choose sides, and they ended up choosing their parents. The difference with this video versus all the previous Plathville videos I've posted is I will actually be watching this as live as possible and for the first time. So yes, I've filmed this first half mostly in one go, but each episode was reacted to and the script was written as I was watching the show. Season 5 opens with Olivia and Ethan touring around Europe. I am so incredibly jealous that they were able to do this.
Ethan and I have been in Europe for the past 2 months and it's been so nice to get away.
We went to Paris first. We were there for a full month.
We bounced around from Paris to England, Scotland.
Stuff to do with my parents getting a divorce and Mike and Mariah, and so there was a good bit of tension in our relationship.
At this point in time, which it's September 13th, I don't know if Olivia and Ethan are still married. There are so many rumors going around, and I think staying together or separating are both great options for them. I'm sure that by the time I post this, we may have an answer, but ultimately, right now, only they know the details of their relationship. They mention how they've had arguments and deeper conversations about everything that happened at Joshua's memorial and at the Springs last season.
I regret the way I acted, and I have apologized, but I don't know. I feel like no matter what I do, I'm talked by Mike and Mariah.
He and Ethan ultimately came to the conclusion that they have too many people's opinions in their marriage and that they need to focus on what each other want. In other news, Micah got his very own apartment in LA. I am so sorry for what I'm about to subject you to.
One of the perks of living on my own and not having a relationship is I can do whatever I want, whenever I want.
Last season, Olivia told a story about Kim involving Ethan in a multi-level marketing company and ended up stealing from Ethan. Here is how Micah feels about that.
Ethan didn't have to do anything. He was very happy at the end of every month to get a paycheck.
I am so incredibly confused by this because if Ethan was getting a paycheck at the end of each month, why would Olivia claim he was being stolen from? Interjection here. If you've seen my credit card story video, you already know that Olivia went into more detail about what happened. Ethan did receive a paycheck from Kim each month, but it was to pay for 50% of the products that she was already basically forcing him to pay for. Sure, he may have been happy to get the paychecks, so he didn't have to pay for all of it, but Olivia goes on to say that Kim bought other products using Ethan's money that he never saw those products. Ultimately, it seems like Micah actually has no idea what he's talking about. This next comment from Micah is so ridiculous considering his current day situation.
Ever since Ethan and Olivia got married, Olivia's been like a big negative cloud hanging over everything, whether it was the way we were raised, the things we were taught, the food we ate, everything was always, that's horrible. Your parents are doing it wrong.
Micah, do you honestly believe that if Olivia was not a part of you and Mariah's life, you would have the life that you have today? Olivia gave you context to the world. You do not get to spend years absorbing all of the things that she has done for you and taught you, and then stab her in the back with this comment. I mean, I guess you do have the right, but I just think it's shitty. Micah continues by explaining why Mariah and him no longer talk to Olivia.
We started to realize that it's been all a big manipulative game, and I'm so over it. And I know that Mariah feels the exact same way.
Olivia manipulated you? And manipulated Mariah? Olivia. Buddy, what about your parents? Anyways, what is Mariah up to?
A lot has changed in my life. I moved and I absolutely love it. It's my own little space. It's really adorable.
I don't think I can stop myself from hating on Mariah sometimes. The red lipstick and fried blonde hair is just too much for me. It seems she's also continued to wear some insane outfits, especially for the interview portion.
I graduated from bartending school, became a bartender.
She also got a dog and named him Blackjack. I guess it's to match the black heart that she's always talking about. Last time we saw Mariah, she was living with Ethan and Olivia, and then Olivia's brother Nathan. So what happened there? Mariah reflects on visiting Joshua's gravesite and when the whole family went to the Springs last season. Those weren't the breaking point for her, though.
It's just not right to tell pieces of a story that make somebody look really, really bad.
Mariah then begins talking about the Instagram post that her, Micah, Lydia, and Isaac all posted.
If we don't speak up and do something, Olivia's gonna think that she can really just say anything about my family and it's gonna be believed and taken as the truth.
Yeah, that's literally why this show exists, Mariah. And you're only against it now because you've decided to switch sides. Also, not one of you have decided to go into specifics about what the truth actually is. Let's read the Instagram post. We as a family have decided to not be divided anymore. There's a lot more to the story than what you have all seen on the show. While we understand that this is a TV show and we are not in control how the show is edited, we are actually a family that is full of love and respect for each other. That being said, we as a family are not going to sit back and watch as our family is driven apart. For example, we wanted to clear up something that Olivia said during the last episode. What Olivia said about our mom using Ethan's credit card was not the full story. Mom and Ethan had a business agreement in which Ethan earned a good bit of money, and both parties were aware of any transactions that were made. Our mom should have had the opportunity to defend herself and tell her side of the story. Some of us kids have been rebels and are finding our place in life and are very thankful to be supported and unconditionally loved by our family, no matter what choices we make or who we become. Please remember that we are human and do make mistakes. Nobody is perfect, and we continue to learn and grow with every day. Not one person is at fault. We also have younger siblings that are at very vulnerable ages, and this is not fair nor healthy for them. We've come to the realization that unless we speak up, this cycle will never end. We ask that you have compassion for us and understand that not everything you see on the show is as it actually is in real life. Thank you for your continued support. Family first. With love, from the Plath family. In her big realization that Olivia is basically evil, Mariah, without notice, moved out. This was while Olivia and Ethan were still in Europe.
I don't know how this is gonna play out, but I do know when it comes to Olivia, I don't feel even guilty at all for just saying like, hey, look, you were my best friend for a while. I love you. I wish you the best. But I don't want to be a part of it.
I hate how she seems to think that she's being the bigger person here. Micah and Mariah have completely forgotten all that Olivia has done for them to get them to be individualistic people. They were clueless little weirdos out in a big world before Olivia. Waiting on the divorce to be finalized, Kim is living in an apartment above her dance studio. Kim claims that she moved out because Barry refused to be the one who has to move out.
I have the children with me about half the time. We've sort of settled into a routine where the girls and Isaac come over for homeschooling, and sometimes they stay the night and we hang out and watch movies, and then other times they go back to the house.
Kim then reflects on her decision of getting divorced.
I knew that in pursuing this divorce, I was risking losing friends, respect of the conservative Christian community, the trust of my children. I knew that all of those things were potentially going to be lost.
I wonder what 2019 Kim would think if she saw this clip. I mean, a conservative Christian woman saying divorce was her best option is not a common statement you'll hear. Back in Paris, Ethan is not happy with the Instagram posts.
Mariah made a post and Micah made a post, and they got Lydia and Isaac to make the same at the same time. And I just got up and went and walked in the mountains for an hour. I was quite pissed, actually.
Is it not insane to you that they did this without consulting Ethan? He is the victim of the story that Olivia told. Yes, she shared it to explain why she doesn't like him, But Ethan's opinion of the story matters the most here.
To say, you can't say XYZ about my mom because I don't like it. She may not like it, but it still doesn't negate the fact that it happened.
That right there seals the deal for me. This story is about Ethan and Kim. Yes, you can argue, as many have, that Ethan is brainwashed, but it's also clear that the kids were not around when all of this happened.
But the fact of the matter is, what Olivia said happened. I mean, that there's no disputing that, and it was a problem.
I understand why they did what they did. It's also kind of crazy to me.
Let's check in on Barry.
There were times where I'm like, oh, depression is ahead if I go there. But all the children have been very supportive. They've helped me get to this point where I'm stable and moving forward.
I don't like Barry, but I've always thought he was more loving and open-minded for his children than Kim was ever capable of being. That doesn't make him the good guy, though. And it's not just the children that have helped him get through this tough time. Barry has become a gym bro.
Working out, that's my new hobby. It used to be an outlet because I was frustrated. I was going through the first 4 steps of the grieving process in a divorce. I can feel the fire burning. Lifting weights was like, this is a release.
This dude has some crazy eyes. It seems like Lydia is team dad.
The last year or so was really hard for all of us, but we're all doing really good right now, and I have no doubt that that's because Dad is doing really good, and when the head of the house is doing good and is really strong and steady, it trickles down to everyone else in the household.
Ethan returned from Europe about a week earlier than Olivia and came home to an empty house. He still expected Mariah to live there.
Mariah had told me before we left for Europe that she was going to stay a couple weeks after I got back. But then something happens that she doesn't like, packs up all her stuff. That does feel a little bit theatrical, if you will.
How does Kim feel about this credit card story? Well, Micah and Mariah decided to sit down with Kim and Barry to talk about it.
I know there's been a lot of things said about you guys, misunderstood about you guys. I'm very sorry for my part in that. I know as a older teenager at the time I was mad, partly on my own.
I already hate where this is going. Micah was not a troubled teenager. His complaints and hurts about his childhood have been valid throughout this show. To apologize for it suggests that he was in the wrong.
Growing up on a piece of land the size we grew up on, being able to own a herd of cows as a young teenager, that was my passion. I'm thankful for a lot of how I was raised.
Everything that he just listed is completely valid, but you don't have to homeschool or extremely shelter your kids from the outside world in order to have or do those things. The goodness of his childhood does not negate all of the struggles he has had trying to navigate in the real world since his childhood. He seems to have completely forgotten about that struggle and pain. Micah goes on to continue his trashing of Olivia.
And it's really knocked his confidence down. He believes it now.
Yeah, you know what it's called? It's called brainwashing.
Brainwashing.
And that's what's happened to him.
Oh, please. Barry, you and Kim are obviously quite familiar with that term. The kids did not blindly follow Olivia. They experienced so many good things that they were not allowed to have growing up, and they agreed with Olivia that they were good things. I would hardly consider that influence. They were also 17 and older at this point. Not adults, but not incapable of thinking for themselves either.
The thing with the credit card, that story that she told, the way I see that is she was using basically a made-up story to validate her big emotions.
Whoa. Made up? What about that story was made up?
But I will not tolerate lies being told. I will not tolerate somebody just then going off the deep end saying, you know, like, you have every right not to like a person. That's okay. But it's not okay to try and make the whole world or a whole family feel the same way.
But I have to tell you, when you two and Lydia and Isaac got together and came up with a group statement and posted it online on my behalf. That made me feel so good that somebody's standing up for me.
Isn't it funny to see how Kim was the anti-sugar, anti-electronic mom for so long, and now she's cheering on her kids for posting misunderstandings online? She is proud of them for using their social influence to make her daughter-in-law seem as if she's been lying. I don't know. It just seems really weird to me.
As far as the credit card story goes, I know my truth. Olivia has her truth, but I'm not going to fight that battle.
That makes you seem incredibly innocent, Kim.
I'm tired of constantly defending myself against things that Ethan and Olivia have said about me.
Then stop doing things that need to be defended. Come on now. In other news, Olivia has also returned to Tampa after the Europe trip.
I'm feeling kind of torn. Like, I understand the importance of him working on his car. I'm not going to lie and say that, like, I don't feel nervous or anxious.
Ethan is planning to be gone for 2.5 months because he wants his cars finished before they move to Minnesota near his grandparents. Knowing from past episodes, Olivia's anxiety is valid. Ethan shuts down and stops communicating when he works on his cars.
Are you gonna talk to me while you're there?
I'll call you every day.
There's also this added fear of him being near his family. The entire Plaths family, including the kids, have cut off communication with Olivia.
Last year, it seemed like we were making progress, me and Olivia with my family, but the social media post definitely was a nail in that progress. I would like to talk to them someday about why they did what they did.
And that concludes episode 1. Episode 2 opens with Barry and Micah working out together.
Mike and I have entered like a new phase of relationship where we're bonding as like bros in the gym.
They're also aware that Ethan is in town.
We see it differently. Ethan sees things more how Olivia sees things.
If you follow Olivia on Instagram, you already know she has been getting closer with her sister, Lydia Grace. This is the first time in the show that we see her, though.
My parents thought Lydia was walking the fine line to hell.
I am so relieved we finally get to hear a bit more about Olivia's family. I was hoping for more last season when Nathan moved in, but obviously there was nothing. I find it fascinating that Olivia was told to choose between her parents and sister, and that's what led to a lack of relationship all of these years. These families are so toxic and so unaware. For Olivia to constantly be put in these choosing situations has to be so stressful and confusing. I'm glad that she was able to step back and realize how unhealthy that was for her. Just before Nathan and Lydia Grace arrived, Ethan surprised Olivia by coming home for the night to sell his motorcycle.
Last time I saw Lydia Grace, I didn't necessarily have a good impression of her. She was the family rebel for sure.
When I see Ethan, I know that he has assumptions of me. I don't know what they are, but with Ethan here especially, I was just like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this.
Lydia also reflects on her family.
In dysfunctional families, somebody's got to be the scapegoat, and that fell on me.
Preach it, sister. How ironic is it that Olivia went on to become the scapegoat of the Plath family? I mean, Mariah was too, but Mariah behaving like that was pitted onto Olivia. I find it so brave for Lydia Grace to come back into Olivia's life, and I give Olivia so much credit for inviting her sister back in. That is just so beautiful.
Olivia's told me everything that's going on with Mariah. I never would have expected Mariah to turn. You know, Olivia's been like a second mother in her life.
Mariah used to be like best friends with me and Lydia. In the few months after my wedding, Lydia and Mariah's relationship kind of ended.
Twins.
Mariah's family was a lot like my family, and it was nice to have someone not judge you for what you liked.
This show has completely avoided all of this information. Up until this point, I didn't even know there were more people at the wedding. It always seemed like it was just the Plaths.
Well, I have to say I'm really glad that we're all here together, but it does feel really weird.
In Tallahassee, Kim has breakfast with her friend Mama Sue and says quite a harsh thing.
The loneliest that I've ever been, at night crying myself to sleep. The thought of having Barry there with me doesn't help any.
Kim then goes on to ask how someone knows when they're ready to start dating again.
So, I mean, I have a ton of questions. Does the guy still pay for dinner? Do I have to do online dating? I don't want to do online dating. That would be fun to hang out with, that might make a good life partner for the second half of my life. I don't know.
What an unlucky man that would be. But I guess she's rich, so there's a win in there somewhere. Mama Sue gives some advice to Kim.
Just remember you have responsibilities with your children, that you'll always need to put them first as well as yourself. But if you're ready, you're ready.
I don't really understand how you can put an entire group of people and yourself first, but thanks, Mama Sue. Back in Tampa, Olivia and Lydia Grace head to the beach for Lydia's birthday.
I think it's weird that everyone in my life told me that we'd be close. And I was like, you guys have no idea how deep this runs.
But I also found security in getting along with my parents. Whereas Lydia was like, I don't really care. If they like me or not, I'm gonna do what I wanna do.
I love this episode and the new perspective it gives me of Olivia. It didn't really change my opinion of her, but enhanced it. She is not bitter and evil. She is growing and has been hurt in so many ways. Her entire life has revolved around people telling her that she was in the wrong. Even when she was in the right, or what her parents deemed as the right, she was hurting her sister. I'm happy to see her dissect all of this and decide her values and what healthy relationships she wants in her life. In another attempt to make Olivia seem like the bad guy, here is Barry and Mariah talking about Mariah's music no longer being available.
Uploaded my music. I thought they were uploaded onto my account, but they weren't.
Oh.
So
They were on her account.
I wrote up a very threatening, like if I don't have access to it, I will take legal action.
I'm not sure how to feel about this story. Olivia was the reason Mariah was able to get her music on streaming services. She also taught her photography and provided multiple free and stunning photo shoots. They were also best friends, so that makes sense. However, threatening legal action and just threatening each other on both ends is so catty. So Mariah is done with Olivia. What about Ethan?
Ethan reached out to me a few times, and he would just yell at me.
Wait, she didn't pay the rent after unexpectedly moving out? I don't know why I expected her to still cover her end, but honestly, I should have known better.
So I blocked him and haven't talked to him since.
Mariah goes on to explain to Barry that she was struggling a lot over the last year and got to a point where she didn't want to live anymore.
I understand a little bit about what depression feels like and, just being extremely sad. Depression is not like just something you can sometimes fix by pressing a button or saying the right words or bringing in an equation that will rid you of it. Sometimes it's a journey and it takes time.
This moment is what a parent should be. It is very clear that Barry loves his kids. This next part of this conversation was wild to me.
This is gonna come as a shock. I want to be baptized.
Really?
I am not here to knock religion. I was deeply religious through some of my most depressive states, and the hope of Jesus was real to me back then. I love that Mariah is reaching out for help, but I also believe that Mariah needs a therapist. She needs a professional to help her go through all of the trauma of her childhood and find tools that will help her move on from it all. Switching over to Ethan, we hear his side of his conversation with Mariah.
And I finally called her. Basically ended up with me telling her, you have to pay your bills, and you owe me a damn apology for saying that my wife stole your music and stole the money that you made from your music.
Okay, whoa. So Mariah has cut off Olivia because she thinks Olivia lied about Kim stealing Ethan's money, which seemed to be the truth until Kim was called out and had to pay him back. But now Mariah's claiming Olivia stole from her?
And I ended it with, do you understand? She just says yes. Hang up. Blocked. Haven't been able to get a hold of her since.
How is Kim and Ethan's relationship?
My relationship with my mom hasn't changed since the step of just tolerating each other if we happen to see each other.
Back at the beach, Olivia and Lydia Grace reflect on things.
It was just really easy just to assume like the mom role. I feel like that was always expected of me with the Plath kids.
Lydia also gives some hard truth.
I do think you and Kim are a lot alike, but but that being said, you are willing to work on yourself.
And that concludes episode 2. All right, now it's October 11th, and I'm officially behind on 4 episodes. Season 5, episode 3. Let's go. This episode opens with Kim talking to Micah about how people she once called friends have been very outspoken about her getting divorced.
There are friends of the family that think I'm a horrible person for walking out on a marriage. And those are probably people that are a little more conservative, Christian, without very much grace.
This next comment from her made me crazy.
To just blast somebody because they think that you're not living right, that's not a Christian thing to do.
So, like the years and years of judging and going after Olivia? True. It wasn't a Christian thing to do. Micah also shares how he feels about the divorce.
I guess part of me doesn't want to admit it, but I'm still bitter about the whole divorce. It's just frustrating.
I think he's valid for that, considering how out of nowhere it came for the kids. I'm not even sure how much Barry saw it coming. At Olivia and Ethan's, Olivia talks about her connection to religion.
I don't know that I would even really want to call myself a Christian anymore. I've kind of just come to the conclusion that organized religion is not for me.
Me too, girlie. Me too. Having a fun siblings day, Olivia and Lydia Grace do Nathan's eye makeup.
I grew up in a fundamentalist culture. Wearing makeup would be looked down upon. I've kind of come to the conclusion that if it's not going to kill you, kind of why not do it?
In addition, Olivia shares her side of what happened with Mariah's music.
When Mariah released her first song in LA, she didn't even know how to click submit publish. So she wanted me to come to LA to do it with her. But because I did all the work, all the accounts were under my name. My credit card was on file for most of the accounts because she didn't know how to do all of that. So then I got this email and it basically said, "You've stolen all of my copyrighted music. If you don't give it back to me immediately, I will take you to court." She also accused me of stealing all of the money made from her music. And so what I did was I downloaded all the financial reports showing I hadn't been paid a penny, all went to her bank account, records of that. And here's every single file you ever gave me. Like, I don't want any of it.
So again, we get a more detailed story from Olivia that makes much more sense. Remember, Olivia owns a business. She is smart enough to keep track of these financial things. Mariah, weren't you the one who just said it's just not right to tell pieces of a story that makes someone look really, really bad? Speaking of Mariah, in Tampa, she is preparing for a ballroom dance competition.
Slow, quick, slow, quick, slow.
In Cairo, the dudes have a guys' night at the bowling alley.
No! Yes! Way to go! Oh, I beat him by 1 point.
On her last night in Tampa, Lydia Grace decided to go to a local bar with her siblings and do a performance.
I'm so sad to be leaving, and I know that this visit in Tampa is just one of many.
I love this little moment because I think it's huge for all of them. They had a hard childhood, and to come together in adulthood is so powerful. Meanwhile, Ethan is still in Cairo, fixing up his cars before they move to Minnesota. He shares a little bit of why he thinks Micah and Mariah turned on Olivia.
And what I ended up doing was venting to Micah and Mariah, and I'm sure they formed their own opinions around that. And that just made everything worse.
To finish out the episode, Mariah gets baptized.
Mine and Jesus's relationship does not look like the relationship Lydia or Dad and Jesus have. Like, it's different. It's unique for me.
I include this clip because I actually love that. Mariah was told to act and dress a certain way her entire childhood. Now she's truly choosing things for herself and seeing how what she was taught can still align with who she is.
I wanted my dad to baptize me. He's been my mentor through all of this. I don't really know how to describe the way I felt when I came out of the water.
Again, I want to be respectful of her religious choices, but this clip was so funny to me. All right, now on to episode 4. Lydia addresses the Instagram post.
After me and my siblings made the social media post, Ethan had reached out and said that he would love to, or that he wanted to talk to me. Now he's here in Cairo, and I don't really get the idea that he's up for any of that right now.
And Isaac shares his perspective.
In terms of the post, me and Ethan have not talked about that yet, but I wasn't trying to paint Ethan or Olivia as a bad person. It was just, if someone lies or says something that's not true about someone publicly, someone should have a right to correct them publicly.
I don't find myself as frustrated with Lydia and Isaac over this post. To me, they're just misguided by Mariah and Micah. They fully believe that Olivia lied, and based off Olivia's side of things, that just doesn't add up. Even Micah admits they didn't ask Ethan for his perspective on it.
At the time of the social media post, I did not even think to ask Ethan if it was his truth.
That's so sketchy to me. Micah continues.
My mom and Ethan both agreed to do what they did and both benefited from it. It definitely was not stealing.
I think his first statement about them both agreeing to it is true. However, based off Olivia's story, Kim did not stick to the agreement. If she had not been stealing, I struggle to understand how Olivia would have built this itemized list of stolen goods and why Barry would later hand over the check. I'm honestly so over talking about this damn Instagram post, though. Let's talk about Barry's love life.
I've got 6 young ladies that are my daughters that, as a father, I want to develop relationships there. I'm not thinking about another woman and a romantic relationship. It's just not on my radar.
Lame. Okay, I'm kind of kidding. I think that's actually very sweet. In other news, a new Welcome to Plathville character has been unlocked.
I know Ken from the Tallahassee airport. About a year ago, I started working with him doing aircraft maintenance.
We already know that Isaac has dreamed of being an Air Force pilot, so it's awesome that he's working at the airport and learning more about planes. What is crazy to me, though, is at 17, he bought a plane.
I can't even tell you how happy I am. This is awesome.
Maybe being homeschooled isn't that bad. Damn. Back at the Plath farm, Lydia is reflecting on Mariah getting baptized and welcoming Jesus back into her life.
Really see a difference in her depression, that's going away. She's just holding on to the Father and learning to walk with him.
Wait a minute. I was very involved in the church. I got baptized at 12 years old, but my depression never went away. So what did I do wrong? Also in Cairo, Ethan has finished his car and takes Olivia on a date for their anniversary.
Me and Olivia are celebrating our 4th wedding anniversary. We're going back to the restaurant where we went on our very first date.
I keep in this part of dialogue because I thought it was a bit of a bomb and that it just ends and they don't mention it again.
How much longer do you think it'll be till we decide to have a kid?
I don't know. What do you think?
Tonight?
Tonight?
When visiting Mariah in Tampa, Barry finds himself in his element at a kombucha place.
Chalk that up to another great dopamine rush. I just love it. Es muy bueno.
While sitting down with her dad, Mariah mentions a part of her childhood that she has spent her life blocking out.
When I was 3 years old, I lost all my hair for several years. Completely, not even eyebrows or eyelashes. I was completely bald.
The doctors diagnosed her with alopecia, and it was very hard for her.
Everywhere I went, I was made fun of by kids my age, and that's when I really started to see myself as different.
We also learn why Mariah is so passionate about clothes and makeup.
If I had the right clothes on that made me look cuter, then I wouldn't be teased as much. Outfits have changed my life. If you have the right outfit on, you're gonna have a good day.
Now, I know throughout this video I've been harsh on Mariah. I haven't been agreeing with her decisions lately based off the information we know as viewers. However, I respect her for sharing this part of her story. It required a lot of vulnerability, and I find that admirable. She ends the episode with something very powerful.
I'm finding my worth, and I'm slowly learning how to stand up for myself. And anyone who challenges that doesn't have a place in my life.
Now, instantly back to my Mariah hating, I have not loved any of her tattoos, but this one she's getting at the beginning of episode 5 is my least favorite.
The first one I got on my wrist when I turned 18. Second one I got on my hip, that's a red and black rose. And then I have beach waves and a little design behind my ear.
Barry's reaction to the stencil says it all. Mariah explains why she got this tattoo.
I'm rebelling against the devil.
The next several minutes of the show include Micah going out and drinking with his friends. I thought it was boring, so we're just going to skip that. At the farm, the Plath family sits down to discuss some changes. The biggest one being they're selling the house they currently live in, and Barry will be moving into one of their rental properties. For the first time in a while, we get to hear how 13-year-old Amber is doing.
Actually, I'm fine with moving to the new house. Just because, there are memories of Mom and Dad being together here.
Speaking of hearing from the little girls, Lydia decided to drive all of them down to Tampa to spend the weekend at Mariah's. I love that Mariah is using her freedom to bring her sisters some joy in the chaos that is their life right now. I also love that because of all of the changes, the girls get to be more free in their self-expression than Mariah was ever allowed to.
I feel like my style is probably somewhere between Mariah and Lydia.
Also in Tampa, it's moving day for Olivia and Ethan.
I definitely feel like Minnesota is going to be a very supportive environment for our marriage.
My grandparents love her so much.
These grandparents are Barry's side of the family. I really hope the show actually introduces them because I still cannot get a read on who Barry is or why he is the way that he is. I think knowing where he came from may help. Back to the Plath girls, Mariah takes them out to a fancy dinner. I can only imagine how exciting this is for Lydia, seeing her big sister taking care of all of them. I know it's been a long time coming.
Hello. How are you doing? Good. How are you? I'm good. Mariah, table party at 5, I believe.
For one last hurrah, Ethan and Olivia have a party to say goodbye to their friends.
I just want to say thank you for being a part of our life here and adding so much to it, and we truly love all of you guys.
And at night, they reminisce about all the good times.
That's the only sad part about moving to Minnesota, saying goodbye to all those people.
And that concludes episode 5. Only one more to go for this video. Episode 6 picks up in Minnesota.
Isn't this the cutest little town?
It is. It's magical. It's definitely much more my speed than Tampa.
Back at their new house, Ethan mentions he's still blocked by Mariah. Olivia says that Nathan isn't happy living in Tampa now that he's on his own, and she also mentions where she's at with the Plath family.
So much of my time and energy went to Ethan's family, so much for the past 4 years. I'm just really excited to take all of the energy and focus on my marriage and the healthy relationships around me.
I love that for her. Meanwhile, Ethan still has a big thing on his mind.
When are we gonna have babies?
A long time.
And again, that's all we get. I'm not thinking that there's going to be a mini Ethan anytime soon. In LA, Micah mentions he doesn't like the inconsistency of freelance work as a model, and he's beginning to question if this will be a long-term thing.
I really miss what I had when I lived in my hometown, next to family, friends. And I've thought about moving back plenty of times.
Love it.
But I also love what I do out here.
In Tallahassee, while hanging out with friends, we begin seeing that Isaac is not the sweet little boy we met in season 1. He's a man now.
You'd go to Thomasville and rather up every girl that you've made out with in the past 2 days.
That'd be a multitude.
I'm glad he gets to have a more normal teenage boy experience. Speaking of which, at Olivia and Ethan's, they invite over Ethan's cousin.
Growing up, I didn't really see the Plaths a lot because I lived in Georgia, we lived in Minnesota. Looking back on it, we had really different upbringings. At our house, we were just really, as I think, normal. We went to school, we had practice, we've gone on a lot of trips, on airplanes and stuff, but they were more isolated and it was a lot more strict.
Amaya is in her senior year of high school and will be going off to college in the fall. Although this is a very normal path for Americans, I never considered how Olivia didn't really get the opportunity. This is where me and Olivia's childhood differs. Yes, I married young and I was very involved within the church, but I went to public school and I've graduated from college. My husband is also in college right now. Already being a wife and a business owner, I just assumed Olivia wouldn't even be interested in college.
I probably think about going to college almost every day. It's something that I really want. It's just so big and scary that I feel like I leave it sitting on the horizon and I'm kind of scared to get closer to it.
One thing that I think is very unfortunate about college in America is how inaccessible it can be. I'm not just talking about the cost. It is so confusing to, at least at first, understand what college is. Many of us choose a major we hope we like and listen to whatever class a counselor tells us to take. Thankfully, I had a counselor sit down with me and explain to me what a credit is, what my degree requirements are, what elective courses versus core classes are, and so on. I went to college to learn. Some go for the social aspect, and that's fine too, but I went to learn. I'm so thankful I had so much autonomy over my degree because I understood what I was there for and what I wanted to learn. I also took the bare minimum credits and didn't have to be in school longer than necessary. And I hope Olivia can find that for herself too. On the beach, Barry planned a little get-together for Mercy's 10th birthday.
What is this?
It's a kayak.
How can a kayak fit in this box?
This moment leads Barry to some important reflecting.
I would have focused less on work and more with Kim and all 9 children. But you know, that's part of parents growing. Make mistakes. The question is, do you keep making them or do you own up to them, learn from them, and move forward?
In Minnesota, we get to meet Ethan's 2 new friends.
Ethan just came in one day with a massive smile on his face, just giving it all. I mean, 100%, if not 150% if you can. But I mean, he made work fun for everybody.
Ethan may be innocent and sometimes even irritating, but he seems so hardworking and sweet. Do you remember when Kim had that dance studio last season? Well, she got rid of it, and the woman, Alicia, who now rents out that space, is having lunch with Kim. And Kim drops a bomb on her.
I guess since we talked last, I've met somebody.
Girl, you keeping secrets.
It's only been a few weeks, but he definitely gives me the warm fuzzies.
Does your ex know about this?
Oh, okay, so yes, I told Barry. He said nothing to that.
He probably was devastated, but just numb.
He said it was sad. I feel like it's time for me to kind of talk to the children and let them know that I'm seeing somebody, you know.
How do you think they're going to react? I mean,
Well, the thing is, and they already know him. They just don't know that we're dating.
Oh, boy.
So, who is this mystery man?
The guy that I'm dating, his name is Ken, and yes, it's the airplane Ken.
Oh, hey, Ken.
Hey, man.
Although Kim and Ken are probably close in age, going after your son's boss and friend is so odd. I also hate how in this next comment, Kim seems to choose her desires over her son's desires. And that's just so odd to me.
But if Isaac's not okay with me dating Ken, I guess we'll just have to talk about it. At the end of the day, I have to make some decisions that are best for me.
So you're saying that you would put this relationship above your son's feelings. I don't know. That's a red flag to me. But I'm caught up on Welcome to Plathville now. I'm also guessing we're about halfway through the season. So what are your thoughts so far? Do you think Kim and Ken are endgame? Are Olivia and Ethan going to stay together and have kids? Will Micah stay in LA? Is Lydia going to move out soon? Comment all of your thoughts below. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Feel free to watch my other Welcome to Plathville videos. And on top of watching this season, I have been rewatching the entire show. I will be restarting season 3 really soon, so be on the lookout for that. At the time of recording this, episode 10 just came out, so season 5 is almost over. And Olivia and Ethan have shared some unfortunate news about their relationship. Come back to hear more about it. For now, I will see you next week. Bye!